In the Marmaris region of northern Romania lies Sapanta, an unassuming little village where it seems like nothing has changed for the past 100 years. Farmers still go about their work in horse-drawn carts and old women still wear traditional clothing. But Sapanta has another very unique claim to fame, which is that death is not always as grim as it seems, at least not in Sapanta. As bodies laid to rest here in this small Romanian village get another chance to tell their various tales. This is the Merry Cemetery, as the place is known, famous in Romania for its one-of-a-kind way of looking upon death, not as a sad event, but as a celebration of a life that has just ended. It all began in 1934 with Stan Petraș, a carpenter from the village. At the beginning, he was carving about 10 crosses per year, and he preferred the oak wood. Stan started asking about the person's life, and then he would write short poems, written in the first-person perspective, with expressions of the region. Some of these poems were more cheerful, describing the tales of the deceased, their lives. Others were more tragic, with incredible depth. It went further still as the cemetery started to be filled with colour, headstones or tombstones with paintings to showcase these poems, pictures describing, in an original manner, the persons that were buried there, with scenes from their lives. From 1934 and until his death in 1977, Petraș crafted about 700 crosses. Stan is also buried in the cemetery, as spotted by one of my workshop participants. The inscription on his tombstone cross says, "Since I was a little boy, I was known as Stan Petraș. Listen to me, good people. There are no lies in what I'm going to say. All along my life, I meant no harm to anyone, but did good as much as I could to anyone who asked. Oh, my poor world, because it was hard living in it." Maria, one of the daughters of Stan Petraș, has given Dimitri, who lives in Stan's old home, the official rights to continue the work of her father, which he continues to do in a limited format to this very day. So welcome to our penultimate location on the week-long Radiant Romania tour that I've just undertook with the guests, with the participants. It's been a cracker actually. I've really enjoyed it, apart from some personal errors along the way, which I'll talk about later. But the final shot for today and the penultimate location on the entire trip, because we've got a long drive back tomorrow to Timișoara. And my first video, of course, for the channel is here, the Merry Cemetery. There's air raid sirens going off in the distance because we're near the border with Ukraine. The site itself has become a bit of an obsession in Romania. It's become one of they call it the 7 wonders of Romania. These beautiful hand-painted cemetery sort of headstones on each of the single, grave sites are fascinating. There's a lot of details. It's beautiful. It's right in the north, so it's difficult to get to, and we made quite a nice little detour to get all the way up here on our final sort of full day here in Romania. Now, when you first walk into this site, the best thing to do really is to kind of zoom on in and kind of really fill your frame with some of the headstones and get some detail shots. But what happens if you want to get something a little bit wider and want to take in some of that church? Well, that's what I'm going to be looking at in this video today. So I've picked out a couple of compositions over a year ago now, and we're going to photograph it together. Now here's the 2 images that I captured on my scouting trip about a year ago that incorporate the spire at the top of the church. The one on the left, I love the composition, it's interesting, but the one on the right in particular is the one that's going to give us a reference going into this shoot. Now, in terms of an actual moment for the light, I think that's pretty difficult. I think realistically, as the light's kind of falling in the sky, the shot's going to become kind of a little bit flat maybe. We've probably got 20 minutes left of kind of the actual sun itself, and once that's dipped, fully dipped, the shot's going to go. But at the moment, I quite like what I'm shooting. Settings are easy. I'm doing a sort of an f11, maybe so we can get like a bit of a starburst on here. I'm shooting 5 brackets just because my focus has got to be the video today, on the basis that I've actually not filmed for you at all on this entire trip. It's been quite lazy of me, not lazy, but there's mitigating circumstances. And those mitigating circumstances are that I'm a broken man. because my very expensive and video creating laptop got smashed. Fell off the side, fell down and kind of smashed the LED screen in it, OLED screen in it, and completely obliterated it. Both the chassis, the screen and the keyboard. It went on the corner, so it's the worst possible position. Luckily none of the data is on it, it's just a few files that I've just downloaded. Most of my data I always keep on my actual, hard drives, my SSDs, which is always important to do as a photographer, of course, for that exact reason. The issue is, I'm in the middle of busy season. In the area in the world that I live in, it's not very easy to replace that laptop. It would probably mean it's an Gigabyte Aero 15 laptop, so high-end laptop, made in Taiwan. And those type of laptops, they're only shipped to certain parts of the world, of course, where content creators, photographers and videographers hang out. Get one more shot of this with the light dropping now. There's some pedestrians walking through. It is a public place. So I'm just going to wait for them to guide their ways out of here before I capture another shot. I decided to move. I'm going to go to this corner. Now I've been here before, so it's kind of a little bit of a cheat code in the way that I kind of know a couple of compositions. The one from the door is kind of where I started out. I just took a quick test shot, people walking through the scene. But over in this left-hand corner, I actually quite like what I've got. I've kind of tried to come away, get some of these gravestones, get the height of that in, and the spire being the difficult part to kind of reach almost in the frame. So I've come away to this side so that I get a little bit of all of that, and that's kind of going to be a nice sort of clean composition. I'm going to move my camera around, I'm going to try and frame something up. The idea being that my final shot is going to be basically a segment of, including the top of it, with a segment of these gravestones down the bottom too. I think it's going to look really good. So yeah, let's look at getting an image now and working the scene a little bit, using my tilt shift lens to kind of go through the scene to create this panoramic. I'm going to use the 17mm. I'm using that with my R5, of course. The 17 has just got that reach, it's going to stretch the spire a little bit, but as long as I've got it in the frame, I'll be able to correct that a little bit in post. So yeah, let's work it and see what we get. So I think my shot is going to be around here, all the way back, like nearly a year ago now. And I came here and I photographed it under sort of busy tourist conditions, middle of the day. However, at this time of night, low light in the sky, to be honest with you, this is looking pretty fantastic. I like the kind of look and feel of it. It's backlit, so it's pretty difficult to line up, of course, in terms of the sunlight being kind of heavily in the frame. But I'm gonna stop down the light, ISO 100. What I've kind of got the sun's backlit on the church here, as you can see, and what I've tried to do is I've tried to get the gravestones that are down in this foreground here sort of basically lined up at the bottom of my frame, and it's looking quite cool. When I move through the pano, so I unlock my lens one side, which is basically what I'm now doing, and I shift my lens, I'm going to have all the top of the church like so, and when I shift down, that's my middle part of the composition, and I'm going to include a little bit of these gravestones at the bottom there. I hope you can see that. I'm going to crop that quite heavily. I'm not going to include the base of these front gravestones in. It's going to literally be sort of from here, a nice image all the way through. So let me just do that again. And I'm just refocusing the position here on the church. Same. Now what I've done is I've done my 5 brackets, but I've split them 2 stops apart. So there's actually like 10 stops of range here to give me something to work with. And I think it's going to work really well. I really like now I've got the top in completely. And the angle's pretty cool on the church as well. Maybe not 100% perfect, but it's definitely interesting. I could even bring the tripod position up a little higher just to give me a little bit more wiggle room on the top here. So I'm going to reshoot that now, come back a little bit further, just reshoot that so I know that I've got the space for the lens at the top, which I've got. Now I've locked it down. Angle wise, I'm liking it. So this is it from the Merry Cemetery, my penultimate location for the entire trip. It's been a pleasure to be here in Romania once again and photograph with these guys. If you want to join us next year on location, I've just opened my dates for 2025 and you can see them in the link in the description. Leave any comments you've got down below, and until next time, see you very soon.